Check, check, check. We will be starting shortly. If you're here, the open source show will begin in a few minutes. Mic check, mic check. Okay, it seems a little quiet, but we can turn it up a little bit here, maybe? No. Okay, it seems a little quiet, but we can turn it up a little bit. We're gonna leave it like this for now. I'm not gonna mess with it too much. It seems a little quiet for this episode, but we're gonna fix things. Leave it like this for now. I'm not gonna mess with it too much. It seems a little quiet for this episode, but we're gonna fix things. Leave it like this. Looks like we are about to go live. Welcome to the Open Source Show. It's time to talk open source. My name's Vladimir Baranov. Welcome. If you're here and you're interested in the field of open source, in building live, what build in public looks like today, AI, robotics. This is my son Andre over here. Then you're in the right place. We're going to be talking about stuff we're going to be building. Good to see everybody. This is the first episode where, where we are going to get into it. And I'll tell you what the show is about, show you what I'm working on, the purpose of all this, and etc. So I'm Vladimir. I've been a software developer for a very long time. I've been teaching robotics. I have been building in public, and with the AI developments as they're going, there's of course a lot of debate in the open source, in the development world about what open source is, its role. Is open source dead? Is open source the future? That's the point of the show, and we're going to figure it all out. And we're going to watch your feet so I don't run you over. And we're going to be talking about this regularly in building practical things. So let's get right into it and talk about everything. Our goal today is we're going to cover what is the open source show, why we're doing it. We're going to look at some builds from the stuff that we're building. We're including something that Andre built over here, a game that Andre made. Andre's 7 years old, and he was able to make a game, and it's actually quite impressive. You can be on this side, so we can see you on this side. Yeah, there you go. Then we're gonna do a quick teardown of posters. You want to say it now?
Sure. It's like if
Andre
you
has something to say.
if you want to try to guess when I'm gonna come up or like come out of there, or if you want, you can like try to like guess when I am gonna like come out into the video.
There you go. And we'll get to the chat. We'll take a look shortly. Cool. I like it. So we're going to take a look at so what's our plan? So every time that we do these shows, we're going to do several things. We're going to do our build series. No, stay out here. We're going to do a build series. We're going to do our build series, which means we're going to be building our projects continuously, going back to them and building practical, useful things. And I'll show you what that means. And kind of the point of it. We're going to do teardowns. We're going to take open source software and put it through the paces, actually use it and see, is it meeting the standards? Is it good? Is it useful? We're going to spotlight things in the community that are going on that are important to know. And of course, we're going to look at the entire landscape of what's happening across the open source community. It might be different from episode to episode, but that's the plan. And your input's very important, so make sure that you're participating in the channel, in the comments, and in the community. Today also I'll give you my take on OpenClaw and on what I think is needed for the next step. For the downward trend of OpenClaw and the upward trend of Hermes, but the upward trends of agents in general to continue. Bye, big guy.
I'm gonna come back sometime.
And then I'm going to talk about the concept of big open source. Big open source is how I see the future of open source. And I wrote a post recently talking about large companies, these trillion, multi-hundred billion dollar companies releasing things under the title of open source and, calling that big open source. But then I had a second thought and I decided we're going to take it. Open source is going to be people building things. And there's not much of a difference between properly run open source and, let's say, a public company, right? If you look at the Linux organization, for example, Linux Foundation, that is, a good example of, how to potentially run something in between. So I have some ideas in that direction. We're going to be talking about that, but the idea here is to combine all facets of it. So right now, let's get into the open source show, what it is, why we're doing it, the principles behind it, and my take on it. So what we're going to be doing. I kind of covered it a little bit, but now we're going to talk about it on the whole. This is the first episode, and I want everybody to know what's going to be happening. So this is a weekly, bi-weekly, or semi-weekly, a couple times a week broadcast. And we're going to do it all from a founder's perspective. So we're going to build real software, test real tools, cover developments. It's not a tutorial channel here. We're not going to do courses, as weird as it seems, but we're going to work together alongside each other. So if you imagine a global workplace, is what I'm kind of imagining it right now, where we all work together. It's not your company is not a course. Your company is not a tutorial. It's a place to get useful things done because they actually do things for people. So we're going to make it real. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be polished, but it's going to be real. And it means we're coming in with necessarily, the goal is showing up. Showing up is extremely important. Extremely important. And here's Andre again.
I made this paper.
Mm-hmm.
It shows that if you have a circle and you have a line from the middle of the circle going to the outer edge and you rotate it pi degrees, it will rotate a full half circle.
There you go. We're going to learn random things along the way. Thank you, Andre. That was your math break for the moment. I appreciate that. Why are we doing the open? Why does the open source show exist? The open source content landscape, let's say. Sorry, 1 second. No, Andre, grab it.
Okay.
The open source content landscape is completely saturated with what I would say is surface level coverage. So things came out 2 hours ago, and you put out a video. There's no way that the stuff could have been tested, used, or in any way understood and practically treated in any better way than you could have just run it through the AI yourself. So new frameworks get announced, right? And a dozen creators publish, and they race to build this in 10 minutes kind of videos. But then we never really revisit the ideas, and nothing practically gets built. There's too much hype, not enough practical application in the public eye. So the tutorials that are out there, they're optimized for clicks as opposed to making you good at stuff or making you do useful things. And these demos exist to look good on cameras, a lot of them. And then they get abandoned after videos get made. And I don't like that. Builders deserve better. We need honest assessments, right, from people who've actually used the tools in real conditions and done practical things with them. The debugging sessions, when things go wrong, when something you thought was going to be good turns out not to be good, and you need a source that you can trust, right? And I want this to be that source because it's going to be people working together. So this can be a way in, where you maybe, if you've been kind of not sure of what open source is, how to get into building stuff yourself or contribute to things. What's the point? This is what we're gonna talk about. We're going to do build series. One of the major elements of this show is going to be the build series. The build series are where we cover projects that I and others in the community are building that are important to us. We have an interest in that these projects are important, and we want people to use them. We want people's help and contribution to them, etc. The build series will start today. We're going to talk about some projects I'm building. And then I also invite you to submit your projects as well and become part of the community. We're going to talk about the details. As I mentioned, teardowns, we're going to, in general, be taking apps that are out there and doing a deep dive on them and actually using them and seeing if this is useful and where it's useful. From managing your social media accounts, right, with something like Posters, to creating media, to building to something that can build your apps, to things that can design, to ultimately being able to get your stuff out there in front of people. We're going to be testing it all. And again, like I said, spotlighting things that are in the landscape and discussing ongoing trends. We have a website at bigopensource.com where we're going to be putting all this stuff up. We're going to build it slowly, piece by piece. The topics that we're generally going to cover, it's going to be AI and machine learning, robotics, software tools, business applications, vibe coding to some degree, building infrastructure, so hosting stuff yourself, putting it up, monitoring it, what DevOps means, etc. And the idea is we want to have continuity over novelty. So if you want to get caught up in shiny object syndrome, there is every possible place online for you to do this. We're going to focus on things that work and are useful and that stick. Doing it practically. So we're actually going to show this stuff live and focus on doing it together. So talk about what open source is and this kind of stuff. One second. Sorry, 1 second here. We need to be showing up frequently enough to know that the stuff is continuing. So, where are we going next? 1 second.
Sodium hydroxide, and it's used in drain cleaners. Its chemical formula is NaOH. It's a sodium connect to a hydroxide group or an OH group.
This has been your chemistry break. We've had a math break, a chemistry break. What's next?
I don't know. Maybe an electronic break.
All right. Okay. So why I'm doing the open source things personally. So what is open source? Open source, in my opinion, can be different things. You have big companies that are releasing projects. So Meta releasing OpenLlama. Open source, open access, those can mean different things. So releasing, making your code available, making your process available, that's part of open source in my opinion. But there's also making it so that releasing your stuff so that people can build on it. And we'll talk about the licenses and this and that. But the idea is, why are you doing it, and what is it? We're not going to get too much into the definition of, kind of the definition of, but again, like I'll talk about my my perspective here. The idea of open source, or sorry, not the idea of open source. Let's talk more about reasons that people do it. So, let's say you're releasing a security product and you want people to trust it. You may want to release your code so that people can audit it and make sure that what they're using it doesn't have any problems with it or any security issues. You may want to release stuff that shows your work so that you can get a job. You may want to release things online to help others and to have others help you. If you're working on a piece of software that's helpful to you, and you put it up and bring people's attention to it such that it's useful to them and they begin to work on it, well, it makes your software better potentially, and that's a benefit to you. Generally, and then, of course, there is the, you could say that an altruistic sense or the long-term belief. For example, why I think it's important to do a lot of stuff that's online that's a paid SaaS product can be available for free to people willing to put in the effort. So I think online fees are a replacement for effort. So in the long run, I think everything will be available as an open source project for those willing to run it themselves, but also available as a consumer product for people that don't want to do it. Run it themselves, I mean run it locally and sort of put in some effort. The idea, what you would do with OpenClaw right now or Linux versus what you would do with Perplexity Computer or OS X, right? Some kind of operating system that does a lot of the work for you. So my strategy and so what I want to do is be releasing locally and in the cloud. We'll talk more about it as you see here at the end, but the idea is and you see, we're thinking about this out loud and it's going to develop over time. But the point is we're going to solve problems, release the solutions online so that everybody can use them and help build on them. And then we're going to have the consumer versions from which we can potentially then get paid as well. Yeah. with that, let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about the. Let me see first of all. I want to show you what I'm working with here so that you can see. I have a. That's probably not the one. I got a screen here that I can see, and I want to take a look and see if we have any comments in the chat, because I can't see them yet in my thing. But see, I'm going to be able to comments in the chat soon, because I can't see them yet in my chat. Is there any chat? All right, Optimistic is in the building. What's up, Optimistic? Good to see you. Andre is a genius. Yeah, Andre is a cool guy. So I don't know how YouTube works. I'm streaming on YouTube for the first time. It says live. I don't actually know where I'm live. We have a channel at the open source show at the open source show. So if you want to go to YouTube and check it out and tell me if that works, that would be cool. Let me see. With OpenClaw right now, or Linux versus yeah, okay, so it's working here. It's broadcasting. I can see it's broadcasting. I just don't know where it is. We'll figure it out over time. I want to be able to broadcast to YouTube, to X, maybe Twitch over time. We're going to add some music. Let me write that down. Music. We're going to have music. So let's get into some stuff. I want to show you what I'm using to broadcast this, because you see, let's start like this. The point of all this stuff that we're doing and why this is supposed to be different is we're going to build practical things. Practical things means things we're going to use right away, immediately. So starting with that, what am I using to broadcast this thing? I'm using OBS. So if you look over here, that's the outro scene. I have this OBS opened. OBS is the I think it's Open Broadcasting System, but it's an open source broadcasting plugin, which if you've done any kind of streaming, you're possibly familiar with. What I've done here, so of course this is an example of something that is open source and useful and free and that you can run yourself, but there are paid versions of online like Restream that will do similar things but take away some of the power of something like OBS, but instead give you ease of use and ease of functionality. So we have one more quick break before I continue. Other side.
So I made this little contraption, and when you turn it on, and now it's off. Now it's on.
Yeah. That has been your electronics break.
Yeah.
Yes. As you can see, we're going to be covering all fields, all kinds of disciplines: math, chemistry, electronics, open source. OBS lets you is really good at broadcasting video and what do you call it? Encoding it, streaming it, doing all that stuff. It's generally pretty good. Once you start getting plugins into it, it starts to get a little messed up. So, but what it does do really well is web overlays. So I'm going to show you something that I made that allows me to put up things like this on the screen and then run them in the various. So I'm going to show you the flow that I made. So check this out. So we have this thing on the side. This is the practical solution, and let's jump right into it. My approach to open source. I'm doing a video. There is an agenda to this video. I need to tell you about what we're going to be doing in a practical way and also tell you where we are. But I don't want to have this thing on the screen at all times. So I want to be able to go from this display over here to showing you where we are right now and back really easily. In fact, check this out. Right now we're on point 1. We were talking about open source show. But let's move on now to the build series. You see? This is what now that up and down thing, that needs to be worked on. But check this out. Now, as it expands back to the list, look how cool this looks. You see that? So this is something I need to be able to use as part of the show, right? So we start with the problem, because I need to be able to do that. Now I have this right here. Maybe I also want to put up a timer on my screen, right? Like that. Maybe I want to put up an image. Maybe I want to put up an image and be able to scroll between them really easily. Maybe I just want to be able to fly in a lower third kind of thing down here. And I'm sure you've seen some of these things, you know, in other tools, in broadcasts. It all depends how they're used. Maybe I want to have a message, breaking news. Maybe we want to have a ticker across the bottom that shows stuff that's going on. Maybe we are broadcasting a game and we want to have the score, that when people score, bang, the red score, the score goes up. So I need to be able to do this really quickly on the fly, but also pre-planned depending on what we're doing. So I made something called My Broadcast. I'm going to come up with a better name for it, but it allows me to do, so My Broadcast there is the first in the list in the build series, and what it allows me to do is add these various overlays and control them directly from here. So this is something that runs locally, that I'm going to open source as in make available by the end of this show, that you can use to do your broadcast as well. And I'm going to explain a few interesting things here. Again, this is the first of our build series. This is one of the foundational tools that we're going to build and use and make ultra useful as we do this. This lets you run the entire live show. So this is why I actually built it. And then, so check this out. So we have these elements that can be added. Scorecards, image galleries, images, right? These are things that are going to be able to be used as overlays on top of the video. Okay? Then we have something called layouts. A layout is a combination of several images, of several things being displayed at the same time. Right? So that you can have several things. Combined with an OBS scene. I connected this to OBS so that I can switch between scenes and turn multiple elements on and off. So, for example, let me show you something interesting here. I can queue multiple elements at the same time to work like this. Check this out. On the left is the preview. On the right is what you see in the screen. Okay. So check this out. I'm going to queue. So on the left, I'm going to queue the build series lower third thing to go off, and the image gallery to go on, and the message at the top to go on. So watch, when I press run, all of them will happen at the same time. Bam. You see that? So what this lets you do is have these have a really fine control of a lot of on-screen elements, right? Where, okay, so now we have this breaking news. Now, I can control these elements individually, but what's cool is, again, doing it multiple at a time. So check this out. So we'll have them disappear, and we will bring back the agenda at the same time. Boom. Okay. So this is something that we're able to do. Now, in the layout, we can switch from one layout to another, and this will just, switch one set of elements for another. Cool. So now you can imagine you can have your one layout for your one studio or one view, another layout where you're doing, let's say you're doing a new segment. You can do the whole thing where you have the image on the side, you're on the side, you got the over-the-shoulder shot, that whole stuff very easily from here. But then, and this is why I really made this, is that I want to be able to, or myself or somebody to be able to, and this is, I think, the most powerful thing that will actually change or enable things that didn't exist before. Imagine you have a script, okay? You have a script. So I'm just organizing things here as we go. You have a script, or this is the use case. This is the ultimate use case that I kind of. Sorry, one second. I'm trying to put these things in the right place. There's a very specific use case, and it's being able to turn around a highly produced live show in a very short amount of time. Sorry, one second. This is ruining my life here. Sorry, give me 1 second. So I need you to imagine this. A news story. Oh, we need to get rid of the stuff on the screen. Clear. Boom. We come back. Build series. We are on the build series. Okay. So I need you to imagine this. Do I see overlays? Where are my overlays? I need you to imagine this. A news story comes out. Something you're a person who delivers news to the world. You find things out and you make sure that the news gets out fast, and you want to do it at a high level of production to compete with the studios that are out there doing it at a high level, meaning on-screen graphics to help explain things, organization, presentation, what we would call production value. So something comes out that's newsworthy. You want to be able to release a world-class broadcast within 5 minutes. So from this news story, you create a script. You have the script. Now you can read it. But that doesn't put the stuff on screen to go with your story. And in fact, that if you want to put the stuff on screen quickly and sort of and have the kind of quality that a news studio does, you actually need somebody else with you, because it's hard to read the script, think of what should come in next, etc. But if you think about it, the script we treat as a series of words to read, but it doesn't just have to be. The script can also include cues to turn on visual elements or to go to layouts. One sec, I gotta finish this. Which means that we can have a script that you can basically read along and then keep pressing enter or space or whatever it is to run the next element. So let me show you so I'll give you an example. I'm gonna first show you how it works, and then I'll show you the behind the scenes, and then Andre's gonna do another little break. I don't know what it's gonna be. So check this out over here. I have my scripts, and I'm gonna I'm gonna open the script, and now this is how you would run it. And look at things appear on the screen. Okay, are they appearing? Yeah, okay. So imagine I'm the person doing the broadcast, right? This is what you would do. You would be one person, and you would basically click, boom, that turns on. Breaking news, next layout turns on. This is the story. Something happened, boom, 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 boom. Now I'm done. Go to sports. It turns on the next thing. And so the idea is you control the stuff that appears on the screen by simply pressing next, right? So let me see how I'm doing this. So boom, with one click. Then I read something, boom, we do another thing. Then I read something, and then we do another thing. So I'll do a live example. I'll do a better example, like an actual example of how to use this. But if you're seeing the vision here, the idea is that we can sequence the entire production of what's about to be shown on the screen, and then have one person run it because it's all pre-planned. So I'll show a concept of how that works. But before we do that, it's time for a quick break with Andre. What you got for us?
So I made this little new origami
You got to show it to
holder
the camera.
thing, and it can hold stuff. For example, this spider I got at Chuck E. Cheese.
Open source holder.
I guess.
Here, watch. I'll cover your face so that it focuses on it. Otherwise, it'll just focus on your face. Or our faces. There we go. Cover the face. There we go. All right. Thank you, son. Appreciate it. That has been your minute. So we'll talk more about this. This is a tool. All of these tools we're going to do a deeper dive on. Right now, I want to go through a few things that we're using. So the point of this tool that I just showed you is to run this show, is to run a live broadcast in two manners. One of them is like this without a script, and one of them is completely scripted, where you want to produce a highly produced show. Now, let me show you something else inside this tool. There is something called formats, and the idea is, if you're going to be writing a script for a type of show, i.e. a news broadcast or an educational type show or whatever, that has a format that you follow, it repeats, we can set that format up and then generate scripts into off of that format automatically. I'm gonna do a whole walkthrough on how this thing works later. But the idea is, this thing lets you use AI to generate scripts and then automatically run them. So on one of the coming sessions, what we're going to do is actually do some live production with this. Right now we're running the video with it. Okay, and of course there's theme and settings and this and that, but we're gonna we'll talk about that later. So next thing we'll talk about is something I made called default tools. A lot of people, everybody uses some kind of organization tools to manage your ideas and to organize thoughts and this and that. And so I made something called default tools, and it's this right here. I think you can just sign up and use it for free. I don't know if I'm going to change that, but for now the idea is, check this out. This is where I actually organize my stuff. You can have your different organizations. So I have the open source show, and then you have notes, and in notes you can you can create notes here. You have a whiteboard, calendar, do appointments, spreadsheets, checklists, email blasts right from here. You can do forms for people to fill out. So basically this thing here that I made basically replaces like 10 different tools for me, because instead of, I can do forms from here that I can send to people to fill out, create random landing pages. Just if I need to send somebody like a document or something, I have a list of people in here that you can email right directly from here. Again, save notes. We have a spreadsheet thing here where we can do Excel type things, because what I find is I'll sometimes have spreadsheets open right as a tab, and then there'll be multiple, one for each project or multiple, and then you're only using like 20 cells in some of them. So the idea here is you have this mini spreadsheet along with notes, and then you can also have appointments here and checklists, and it kind of everything that a project has basically is here for me now. So this is an example of when I say building practical things, this is an example of something that's allowed me to not pay for a bunch of tools like MailChimp or whatever I was using. I think I was using MailChimp to do email blasts. I had some kind of form thing I was signed up for, like $20 a month or a year, I don't know what it was, to do forms. There's a place where you need to keep all the associated customers. And of course, if you want to do this for a bunch of companies, then it becomes it becomes annoying to have all these tabs open. So I'm actually able to keep a lot of tabs closed with this. And I added a couple crazy things on here that nobody's ever done that I've seen. One that people have, you can move the sidebar from the left to the right, which is, it's a visual ergonomics thing. And the other one is a little more crazy, is you can mirror the whole thing. And believe it or not, your brain gets used to this, especially if you try a left-handed mouse, and it's just another brain ergonomics thing. I'm very much about symmetry-based ergonomics that help with understanding and deeper and wider learning, let's say. So this is something I'm quite interested in. Believe it or not, you actually can quite quickly get used to working this way. So this is a tool that I made, and then you have goals across the top, right? So everything that you could have in terms of organization for a company or a project can be done with this one tool without having to go into many places. And we'll do a deeper dive on this later as well. This is another tool that I recently made. Let's talk now about the sleeping LLM. One of the projects, the project I've been focused on, maybe the most, over the last little bit, is an AI research project called the Sleeping LLM. And it's a continual learning system, biologically inspired, that allows an LLM to learn into its weights directly over time through repeated sleep cycles. Research that I've done indicates that long-term memory in any beings is formed through sleep cycles, particularly a dual sleep cycle, a dual phase existence, where you're operating with your working memory, as you are right now, as you're, when you're awake, your short-term memory, your context in the LLM sense, if you will. But your learning happens in a different way, right? So you're not learning directly into your brain, because you imagine that would be quite dangerous, right? You want to be able to process things before you learn them to see if they're actually true, and more importantly, in the human sense, if they're useful for you to learn. So what the sleeping LLM does, is you have conversations with it, it uses the context, as the LLM model does, but there are effectively training cycles, LoRa-based training cycles, that take two things. One is extracting facts from the chat, which is the things that we're going to remember. And the second is the training cycle as well, which we call the sleep cycle, that actually trains the model on those facts and remembers them into memory. I'll walk through this right now and talk about it. The sleep cycles themselves, they each take like 5 minutes to do on the model that I have running locally. So what I'll do is, I made a video where I sped through the sleep cycles, and we can do it live at some point, but I'll walk you through it right now and show you. How do I make this bigger? How do I get rid of all this? Okay, let me just export this thing, and then I'll walk you through it. Or let me see how we see this thing right now. It's big. Okay. No, we need to make it bigger, and ideally full screen. Okay. How long will this take? It's going to be pretty fast. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through the full cycle right now and show you the purpose of it, how it works, and why this potentially is one of the more important things in the long run. The context window, no matter how big, and the implications for memory are, amongst the biggest problems right now for practical applications of AI at scale. it needs to remember things. Your AI needs to remember things over time so that you don't need to repeat yourself. But it can't remember everything directly into context, or i.e. its working memory, because there's simply not enough space, no matter how big that context gets. And I wrote a post recently on any amount of stuff in the context is already affecting your inference quality. So let me open this thing now. Where did we save it? Give me a second. I'm gonna show you the sleeping LLM, and this is sort of the research that there's a 6-paper arc on this that covers all the research that went into it and what failed along the way, and about 120 documents of notes. Let me just find it. Where did we save this thing? And then I'll walk you through it. Okay, it's just on the desktop. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this together. So we want it to be from So, or maybe I'll put this out as a video in the future, as a standalone video. But for now, we're just going to cover it like this. So this is the sleeping LLM. Inspired by the biological brain and its working memory, we have the system prompt. The system prompt. That's what we've been working with the whole time. The technology that's been around. The short-term memory is our facts ledger. So in addition to storing, so you have the working memory, but the short-term memory is the equivalent to stuff that, let's say, you remember throughout the day, but you're not actively keeping in memory. That's the way we're looking at this here. So we have the facts ledger. It's basically a list. It could be a markdown file. In our case, it's not a markdown. It's just different. It's a JSON file. But the idea is just a list of things that need to be processed and stored into weights over time. And the long-term memory is your actual cortex, your prefrontal cortex, your neocortex. And for things to get there, they have to be processed. They have to be understood and saved in there during sleep, which is what happens in humans. And in our version, that happens during the AI sleep phase. So now here, watch, we're going to, this is the, let me show you, this is the UI that you can download. So this is available on my GitHub. I'll make the project available at bigopensource.com in the projects, but you can also go to my X profile or to my GitHub, github.com/vbario, and you can get this there and then run this locally and give it a try. So you can see here, you can click on the tokens. It'll show you what's currently in the context. So it says here, you may recall things from previous conversation. That's it. So this is everything that's in the context. We're gonna now try to remember something. Let's talk this. So here on the right, that's highlighted. This is what's in the memory right now. There's no facts because we haven't talked, but let's go through. Do you know Jazzy Mike? And the point is, I'm asking something that the AI doesn't know, right? By the way, what we're running here is the 3 billion parameter model of Ollama Instruct. So we asked about Jazzy Mike because that's a person that I don't know of and I don't believe is publicly known or to exist. So the AI doesn't know. I don't have any information. Cool. So now I'm going to tell. Jazzy Mike is a saxophone player from Toronto, Canada. You can see on the right that it now took some facts out. One of them is Jazzy Mike's name is Jazzy Mike. Cool. Not the best consolidation, but there you go. The second one is Jazzy Mike plays the saxophone, and the third one is Jazzy Mike is from Toronto, Canada. Now, what you actually learn from the conversation, this is a topic of discussion in itself, because one person may learn the facts, another person may learn may not even remember what you said, but may remember that your hair was green, or whatever it is. So the facts that get extracted, that alone deserves its own research and this and that. For now, we're just using something simple that extracts facts that we can use, and in the sense of track, right? So those are the facts that I got. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go, it's now in stage 0. It's in the system prompt. It's in context. The way it would be if you were talking to your LLM right now. Those facts can be instantly recalled because they're in the chat. But the model hasn't been trained on them. But now we're going to train the model. Let's go through this. So first we do a health check. This is a perplexity check to see how confused the model is effectively. Now it spins through these things really fast right now on purpose. So it curates the facts. That means it goes again through the conversation. Pulls out the facts that it wants to save. And then it says, let's now consolidate them. And we have the sleep phase number 1 happening right now. This is our first sleep. The LoRa consolidation is happening. So in this case, what's happening is the AI is asking different questions about the fact and then creating data to train on based on that, and then actually running a training cycle. Boom. So the facts get extracted, the data gets augmented, as I was saying, then we have the actual training cycle, and then the weights ultimately get, you create an adapter, and then the weights get fused. We're only doing 5 facts at a time right now because of the 3 billion parameter model. This is for testing, and we haven't tested, we have tested it at larger scales, but it takes a lot longer to sleep. And after sleep, when we're able to recall the facts without them being in the context, we remove them from the list of things that need to be remembered, that need to be consolidated. So the facts are then graduated, as we'd say. So, boom. We've done 1 sleep cycle now. You can see on the right here, the facts are still in stage 0. They moved into stage 1. Let's see what's going on. It says stage 0. Oh, okay, so there you go. They're in stage 1. So it means now they're in both. They're partially in the weights, and they're still fully in the ledger. So we're going to run 1 more sleep cycle. And similarly to the way that you may need to sleep on something multiple times, or need time in general to process information and store it, sleeping on things, i.e. training on the information multiple times, helps it store. And so we're going to basically sleep on this information right now until it gets graduated. The memory right now is being absorbed through the sleep cycle. So you can see that in the context we have it. But we also are now starting to store it into the LoRa weights, which you can't see from here. This is there's a test that's run to check this. But the idea is that by the end of this, you will see it. So now we did 1 more sleep. 1 fact graduated. Okay, which fact graduated? So it's whichever fact doesn't exist here anymore. Let's go back for a sec. It was that Jazzy Mike plays the saxophone. So that fact is graduated and now stored entirely in the weights. And it's no longer in the context. Or rather, it is in the context until we restart. And then basically, then it'll be entirely in the weights. So now, you see there? In our context, Jazzy Mike plays the saxophone. Jazzy Mike is from Toronto, Canada. Okay, so that's there. That's why it's going to remember it. But now, okay, we're going to do 1 more sleep, I guess. Okay, we did 1 more sleep. The facts absorbed. Okay, there you go. So we no longer have the fact that Jazzy Mike plays the saxophone in here. We restart the session. So now you can see there's no past chat. There is no mention of Jazzy Mike playing the saxophone in the context, i.e. in the system prompt. And now we're going to ask, so basically that fact about Jazzy Mike playing the saxophone has graduated. It's no longer now in any of the short-term memory And we're going to ask Jazzy Mike, who's Jazzy Mike? Jazzy Mike plays the saxophone. So now the idea is your context doesn't need to carry this information. And that frees up, that makes it so that your context doesn't fill up. So if we can perform this on large amounts of facts at scale, it's like the person who's working with you, your assistant, or however you treat your AI, is learning alongside you. And so you can imagine, if this is done right, everything is being remembered, or the right things are being remembered, and the context remains empty. So that information is now stored in the weights. And this is a simple demonstration on a 3 billion parameter model that we've shown can remember about 14 facts before it begins to degrade. And this makes sense. If you look at brains, and we use the brain analogy a lot. It's not the perfect analogy, but it's something that's interesting to look at. If you look at the brains of different beings, a fly is not going to be able to remember many words. A mouse is not going to be able to remember many things in general. And the smarter something is, the more connections that something is able to make in the brain, the more it can remember, generally. Again, we're speaking kind of in generalities. So what we've shown is that at 30 to 100 is, as I've been talking to people, seems to be like the consensus. But we've shown in a 70 billion parameter model, an OpenAVA model, that we can recall into the dozens of facts. And in fact, looking at things like facts isn't necessarily right. The idea being how much information you're able to pull out of a given wake cycle that you can then use to store in your sleep cycle. And that pulling out of the information itself, I don't think there's even a right answer. Because maybe you want to remember one set of information, you get fed some data, you observe a conversation or you look at things, but what you pull out of it is up to you, and what you decide is important to you. That's something that's needs to be talked about. So this is the sleeping LLM, and the research that I'm doing is to be able to allow this to happen, to be able for your models, your LLM models, your AI to be able to learn continuously in the long run. Cool. Next I wanted to talk about the auto producer. I'm going to skip that for now. We're going to go into an app I made called Rabbit Hole. Very simple thing. And by the way, I'm going to post all of the stuff that we've been talking about on X, I think, after this, and on YouTube. So I don't know exactly where it's even going on YouTube right now, where it's going live. I'm going to figure it out as we go. I figured, we just need to start, and it's going to get good. We're going to figure it out as we go. I'm going to show you a project that is already up on my GitHub. It's called, so I called it Learner originally, but it's, let me see. I call it Rabbit Hole because sometimes you need to know some information, and then it leads you to needing to know some other information. Let me show you. Run this app. So this is kind of an idea. This started as a note-taking. So again, keeping things practical. Going back to our list here for a second. We're building things. It's building practical things over talking about it. You can learn the latest hype from wherever, but the idea is we're going to build it live. Right now, first episode, we're covering some of the stuff, and then we're going to do deep dives and then actually get into building things that we need. My broadcast, this tool that we talked about, that's what helps me run this show. Default tools, that's what helps me not have to pay for 10 different apps. The sleeping LLM is long-term memory for AI. Rabbit hole that I'm going to show you right now is a tool that lets you explore concepts. And let me just enter my Anthropic key here without anybody stealing it really quickly. 1 second. I'm going to show you this tool. So let me go to this scene. Okay. So this is something called Rabbit Hole. Now check this out. You can use this. It's available. It's open source. All you do is you drop your Anthropic key in here. You press continue. Key verified. Now you want to ask a question. You've seen this. What do you want to learn about? I want to learn about machine learning. I've heard about machine learning. I want to learn. Okay, so boom, it's going to open up this card. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence where algorithms learn patterns. So boom. But now I see words here and I don't know about them. What is an algorithm? I click on it and it tells me what an algorithm is. What if I see here and it says what learns patterns from data? What does that even mean? It learns patterns from data. I can highlight that and this app will open a thing here that says learn patterns from data, and it explains in context what those words mean. So let's say you read this card but you didn't know what parts of this meant. This allows you to understand the thing that you're reading, and by depth-wise exploration. What does it mean that machines follow something? Okay, what does that mean? Machines follow means algorithms instruct computers to execute step-by-step instructions and decision rules derived from learned patterns. Okay, what are learned patterns? What are algorithms? We have that here. Learned patterns are regularities and relationships. So you see, the idea is this then lets you go down the rabbit hole of something you thought could be interesting. So you could also ask about things on the screen. So let's try it. Let's do it again. Let's go new topic, and we're gonna say English language. Right? I want to learn about the language. English is a Germanic language spoken globally. Okay, Germanic language. What does that mean, Germanic? Germanic languages are a branch of Indo-European languages that include English, German, and Dutch. Cool. What are other language branches? The idea here is the way that we're presenting the information. It's not that you can't ask an AI to do this. And there you go. So see, it'll give you the other ones. And now from here, I can just click on these other languages and explore. Okay, cool. And do you see how this, again, lets you explore concepts down the line? This is Rabbit Hole. All of these tools, again, are going to be available on bigopensource.com. They're currently available on my GitHub. If you go to vbar.io, there's a link, or you go to my X profile, you'll find it there. The last thing I want to show you today is something called Andre AI. Let's see if Andre wants to come for this. We're going to look at something called Andre AI, and this is something that Andre made, but it's actually highly practical because it lets us learn and understand a little bit about AI. So, what is Andre AI? Andre AI is a game. We're going to load it right now so that you can see it. And it's a game that Andre made. Andre, do you want to tell us about Andre AI?
So basically, you pretend you're an AI, and there is 11 challenges in 11 rooms. There's a tunnel at the end of each room, but there is always a threat that can make you not lose a life, but like you that like you'll see.
Okay. What inspired you to make this?
I saw a thing on YouTube called AI Warehouse, and yeah, there's AIs. Yeah, we use Claude.
Andre
Yeah.
made this game here by prompting the AI. One second. Yeah. Okay. He did 100% of the prompting, and the prompt is available. This is open source, and the prompt is available on my GitHub, so you can see. And this is a game that you can play with. Oh, that was really good. With the keys on your keyboard. But why is this called Andre AI? Because after this, Andre created an AI that learns how to play this game and how to beat it. So this is him playing it right now. But now we're going to open up the AI and show you. All right, let me show you. Let me open the AI.
1 second. I want to finish it.
Well, no. We got it.
Super good at this.
Okay, we're going to give Andre one chance. But if you lose, we're going to have to move on. Okay, no, I got to show the rest of the video.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to go into, it's called AIB. And we're going to run this folder. Now, check this out. A lot of time, if you don't know how to run something, you open the folder and you just say, run the server or whatever it is, right? And it will open it up for you, right? I mean, I know how to open it right here. It's just a folder with an HTML file. But there you go. It'll open the server for you. It'll tell you where to go. Failed because it's running. There's one already running. So watch. There's something already running on that port, so it's going to try a different port by itself. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't really matter, because see, all I wrote is run the server. Now it's running. Okay, now check this out. So the second thing is Andre made an AI that learns how to play the game. This AI here is trying stuff. It can go left, right, up, and down, and it can react to things that it sees. And we can speed it up. So there's another version of this, actually, called Extended by Dad, where I added some visuals to the side. So it's the same thing, but you're going to watch this AI learn right now, just with on port 8090. So I'm going to close the other one. And you're going to watch this AI learn, and I'm going to explain how it learns. Okay. Check this out. Okay, so this here is everything that the AI, the information that the AI is seeing. So you can see this guy. This guy's the brick. Left, right, up, and down. You can see the arrow on it. That's where it's pressing. Here on the right, the AI can actually see if there's something blocking it. So the green arrows indicate that you can go. Okay, let me see. Yeah, indicate that you can go into that direction, and the red indicate that it's blocked. Right. So this is this kind of vision in all direction. And then it has a bunch of other data of where it's facing, what button is being pressed, the button direction. All of that is here in real time. And it learns from this, meaning once it achieves some level of forward success, it then that data is then reinforced, and you can download this repo to see how that works. So you can see it in real time, but we can now speed it up at 3 times speed, 10, and faster, so we can have it run through and do more attempts. Let's see how long it takes to beat the game. And what I'm going to do right now is actually turn on a thing that says that it'll, every time that it achieves new progress, it'll slow down. So watch. So watch. It's now on level, which level is this? 1. Boom. Okay, that's the AI. It's now taken 70, 80, 90 attempts, and it's trying to figure out how to get there. It actually usually gets there a bit faster, but see, it's trying to jump. It's, oh, there we go. Watch, attempt number 273, and it succeeded. And now it's on. This is the very hard level, so we'll see what it's able to do. And it takes a bunch of effort. Now, the amount of brains that this AI has is equivalent to a what do you call them? What do you call that little bear? You know what I'm talking about? Oh, there you go. The AI did it. It's basically like an insect larva brain. That's how much brain power this thing has. So the fact that it's able to learn to survive in a controlled environment, but it's not going to be particularly smart. You see, it's taken 1,000 attempts, but now this thing knows how to dodge what, how to dodge those things coming down, and let's see if it beats the level. On the 1,000th attempt, it's beating room 4. Okay, let's see. Boom, made some progress, and then it died.
Yeah.
So you can watch this thing, and of course you can slow it down. Oh, that's really cool. So Andre made this entirely. Andre's 7 years old, but he has the programming skills of at least
probably like a 16-year-old.
Depends. We call it jagged intelligence, where in some things you know stuff, but in some things you don't, right?
Yeah, like I'm really good at math, for example.
But not at.
But not at like.
What have you not practiced much?
Let me think.
Yeah, I don't even know. As the AI continues to learn here, let's go max speed, and let's see how it's able to do this. This one is very hard because you have to time the lasers perfectly. And I found this sometimes can go into the tens of thousands of attempts. I think it even went to like 150,000 attempts. Oh, let's see. No. But it is able to figure it out eventually. Okay. All right, so we'll do we keep it running?
Sure.
Let's give it another 5 seconds. Yeah, this level is very hard. It's hard to beat it even if you're a person. So the thing is, once it fails this many times in a row, it gets very random, and the things that it learns aren't great. So it's the environment itself needs to be more conducive to learning. So you can see it's figuring out that it needs to see. You can see that it learned to go up the first one, but it hasn't figured out to go up the second one. Let's see. Oh! We just watched it beat it. That was cool. Let's see. Okay, we have 2 rooms left. Maybe we'll watch this. Maybe we'll actually see it win. Because this one is pretty straightforward. I think it should be able to, just needs to beat it in time.
Yeah, because it basically slows you down.
Mm-hmm.
So the trick is to basically just like not jump at all. Just jumping. It's bad. You can jump a little bit.
Let's see.
It's not a lot to do in this one.
All right, we have.
Lava.
Oh, see, it saw. You can clearly see it sees the lava because as soon as it sees it, it slows down. Oh, okay. Well, it went so fast. It beat the game. There you go. So the AI learned to beat the game.
And now it's with its friends.
That's really funny. Okay, so that was Andre AI, another open source project. It's also available on my GitHub, and I'll put it up at bigopensource.com. Yeah. All right, Home Slice. We're gonna continue. Thank you for showing that.
I know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I also made 2 more things I want to show.
We'll do it after. I gotta continue
Okay.
the show, but we'll show your stuff after.
Okay. It's like when you're done the show, maybe I can show them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Andre's excited to share his open source contributions as well. Okay. Now, we have a plan to do a teardown of Postus. But we are kind of running out of time, so we're going to move that to the next one. Same with the spotlight and the landscape, because I want to talk about, let me talk about OpenClaw first, and then let's see if we have time to cover everything else. Oops. Okay. So as we go on to the show, the idea of the show is that it's a checkpoint for what's actually going on. What's going on is building practical things in the open that save us time, make us money, and make better product, whatever that entails. So you saw what we talked about today and how that does that, right? The tools that we've talked about, they're intended to do something. So 1 second. Let's talk about OpenClaw. Hermes, not so much Perplexity Computer or Manus, but maybe more OpenClaw. We have agents. So in the world of open source, right, these systems, agentic systems that are able to operate your entire computer or some kind of analog. Ultimately, I see it as two directions, and one being, and they're both going to exist at the same time. One will be the work as me, as in it works, it operates your stuff. So you have OpenClaw or Hermes or whatever, and it works on your, or Claude Cowork, and it works on your stuff. It acts as you. It reads your emails, your social media as you, posts on your behalf, and effectively is an extension of you. That's a direction. The other direction is, 1 second. The other direction is that the AI will not be an extension of you. The agent is not an extension of you, but is its own thing. I.e., messages on its own, on behalf of itself. And you've seen a little bit of that with OpenClaw type agents messaging and saying, hey, I'm this person's OpenClaw agent, blah, 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 blah. The way that these things operate are fundamentally different. Sorry, 1 second. The agent that is the agent and not you can and should do a different set of tasks and will be framed different in your mind. the agent, if the agent has its own Instagram, its own WhatsApp, its own payment method, its own everything, its own name, its own identity, it actually enables a different kind of operation. And I think something more acceptable in the long run. In order for a user to be able to use, a regular user that is not technical enough to use command line interface or the equivalent, to use something like OpenClaw, obviously the onboarding has to be different. The analogy that I've written about is that Linux became more widely available and properly widely available when Ubuntu came out, because that's what made it usable. It's more opinionated, it restricts certain things, it promotes certain things, but it's made for a specific audience. And I think the Ubuntu moment for OpenClaw will come from an agent ID system where you're able to very easily create identities. Not a setup that works, but specific identities where you are this, you are that, you are this. Not just with your own memory, but with your own payment method, with your own email, with your own phone number, with your own socials, such that you are operating on your behalf and the AI operates on its behalf. It's like having addition. Instead of having your brain multiplied 100 times. Your brain is still there, it's amplified, but you also have more additional brains that then work with you. What's up, baby?
I made this. I also really like Lego.
Oh, we have a Lego break. All right, give us a quick Lego break. Then we got to continue talking.
I really like
OpenClaw.
Lego. And I made this little Tesla turbine from Lego. Wait, but,
How does it work?
oh, right.
You
So
blow
I know
on
you
it?
can't see it, but this little stick out of here is spinning.
You got to show the stick on
And-
the camera.
Yeah.
That stick spins when you blow into this hole because there is a...
Tesla turbine inside.
All right.
In fact, this whole thing is a Tesla turbine. And the cool thing about Tesla turbines is that
Tesla turbine.
I need to open it up.
Let me help you. Look up, look up.
Is that they actually don't have any blades.
This is the Tesla turbine
They don't have any
by
blades.
Andre.
They don't have any blades and they still work pretty good. Do you know why?
Why?
It's because there has a bit of viscosity and the viscosity pulls on one end of the wheel and it turns it, and as the air goes through, it spirals in and goes out these two exhaust holes.
Well, there you go. That has been your Lego break.
Okay, bye-bye.
Open source everything. So I'm working on an agent ID system. And a lot of the stuff, to be honest, I don't mind talking about in public. Part of the reason that I'm going to be doing this highly in the open and in public is there's a trade-off. There's some trade-off between you putting your stuff out there and somebody being able to use it to create something commercial, blah, blah, blah. Well, power to you. Go for it. I want to, if I'm gonna commercialize any of this, I'll deal with it as I deal with it. I want to contribute in a way that improves the stuff around us, right? If, for example, this video tool allows more people to do good broadcasts, that helps everybody, right? If something like Default Tools is able to make you not pay for 20 tools that you don't need, or 5 to 10 different tools that you don't need, and save you a bunch of time and close tabs and save you mental effort, that's ultimately worth it. we'll talk about this agent ID system and how I think it's, it can do what Ubuntu did for Linux, but we can also make the Red Hat, which is we sell it. But we'll talk about that. And so this is where we get to the end. The last thing that I want to talk about is big open source. The concept of what I want to build is something called big open source. It's the idea that it's an open source organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of people, but it's the idea of a lot of product, code, useful stuff available for people to use that comes from this organization. And the philosophy is, there's many sides to philosophy, but one of the most important things is doing things that run locally and doing things that run remotely. And they're two different things. We're going to make a solution that is local for the people who are willing to put in the effort. So like OBS, if you are willing to put in the effort and have some technical resilience, then OBS is a great broadcasting solution. But if you want things to be a little bit easier without certain power, you may go with something paid, like Restream or something like that, or something else, or Vidyard or StreamYard. Any of the tools that allow you to do it slightly easier. You plug in your webcam, press go, and then things appear on the screen, and you can choose between a few different views. But ultimately, and it makes sense, right? It makes sense. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having, so as an example, for Agile for AI is a system that I made that we'll be talking about later. It's a way for you to orchestrate your agents, and it's available at agileforai.com, but it's also available as a free download. So depending on, and you can run it locally. So depending on how you want to do it, that's going to be there. So that's the open source show. We're going to organize it, streamline it, add some music, and create continuity, talking about the specific projects over time as we do it. And each project will have a purpose and a reason. I invite you to contribute your projects as well. So, because we'll be bringing attention to them. And it's not enough to just build something. You want people to be able to use your stuff. Ultimately, if you build stuff for yourself that helps you, you can then find people who it will also help. And that's going to be, part of the approach that we take here. So, thank you for tuning in. I hope you learned some stuff, and it was, it was worth your time. We talked about quite a few things, actually. Now that as I look at the rundown, we're going to be going live multiple times a week. I imagine twice, maybe between 1 and 3 times, probably a week. And talking about the ongoing builds, but because I don't know if I want to be making too many pre-produced sort of scripted videos, but maybe I will. I don't know. And yeah, let's keep building. I'll be talking about the projects as well and be doing deep dives on them specifically. And if you're finding any of this useful, like if you want to use these tools or if it's interesting to you, let me know. Feel free to drop a comment in the chat, contribute in the GitHub repos, and check out bigopensource.com as well. And let's keep at it. So this is just the start to kind of lay out things, see where we are, and to put the water through the pipes and sort of see where we need to work on what. Let's do it. Peace out, y'all.